Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous. We are currently live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. This is Sramana Mitra, founder and CEO of 1M by 1M, the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. We work on technology startups and technology-enabled services startups. But within that spectrum, we work with every single variation, every single segment, sub-segment of that general frame. So whether you're working on healthcare IT or online education or e-commerce or cloud computing, AI, big data, Internet of Things, all of that is within our purview, and we are able to help you with those kinds of companies. However, we do not work outside of our expertise area. So I know that because this is a kind of like an open session, especially on LinkedIn, where we have a very large following, a lot of entrepreneurs from other domains come and ask questions about how to navigate their journeys. We don't really engage outside of IT and IT-enabled services, so you need to find other places where you can get help. So for those of you who are working within IT and IT-enabled services and are looking for help, if you want feedback on your particular project, the best place to get that feedback is on our weekly online roundtables. So if you go to the website 1m1m.com and you go to the top navigation bar, free public roundtables, you'll find the schedule and the registration links for all of those. You can actually come and pitch me your idea, your venture, your business, whatever stage you're at, and I will work with you. These are safe working sessions. You do not need to be worried about being nervous, being defensive, nothing. This is not Shark Tank. We're not trying to entertain a large audience of TV viewers. We are trying to accelerate your journey. That is all. So today, though, as in previous sessions of this style, the online rendezvous, we basically tackle questions. We look at questions from all the different touch points through which we engage with our audience, which is a community of over 500,000 people. And we pick up questions and bring them to answer in these sessions. So that's what we're going to do. The first question is, how do you find investors for your startup? Well, I take it you're a first-time entrepreneur, since you are asking this question. If you've done it before, you've been down this path, or maybe this is the first time you're raising money. So my answer to that is, do not spray and pray. If you spray and pray, you never close a round. Investors come in various forms: pre-seed, seed, post-seed, pre-series A, small series A, large series A. There's a small group of pre-seed investors who would consider pre-revenue, and some seed investors do as well. But mostly, this is not common. People don't invest in pre-seed, pre-revenue investments. The vast majority, even pre-seed, want to see paying customers. And that is the reality of fundraising today in this generation of investors and entrepreneurs. So I'll read you a little snippet from our investor introduction section. Just like you look for product market fit, you also need to look for investor entrepreneur fit. A seed investor looking for a unicorn won't invest in a capital efficient startup that is better suited to a $30 million exit. That's a strategic exit, and vice versa. A small fund that is looking for an early exit is not going to invest in a long drawn out unicorn quest. So if you haven't raised money before, understanding the fundamentals would be critical for you. The due diligence questions that investors ask are available on our website for free. Again, if you go back to 1mby1m.com, you go to the self-assessment on the top navigation bar, and you will find all the questions there. Now, I want to point you to something else that I think you would find helpful to read or listen to. This is our seed capital series of interviews. We've profiled hundreds of investors to understand their investment thesis, their sectors, their geography, their preference, everything. The series is also available as videos on YouTube in the 1M by 1M Roundtable channel. And each roundtable typically has an investor guest. Investor interviews are also available as podcasts. If you look at Apple Podcast, 1M by 1M Entrepreneurship Podcast on Apple is a good place to start. But all podcast channels carry our podcast. So you can listen to these interviews as well. Remember, investors are looking to multiply the money that they put into startups. Multiply by how much? 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, 20x? This question determines the strategies of what they are looking to do. Are they looking for unicorns, which means they're trying to build companies with billion-dollar market caps? And that means they're trying to go from $0 to $100 million in revenue in 5 to 7 years. It's very, very fast growth that they're looking for. Or are they looking for early exits, sell capital-efficient startups and make a lower multiple, but nonetheless have a successful outcome? The vast majority of strategic exits happen in the sub $50 million range. And that requires, to make money with a sub $50 million exit, you're going to have to build your company in a very capital efficient way. You have to, raise small amounts of money, get to revenue, get to product market fit, and get customers who really enthusiastically validate your product and use your product. And that is the basis, usually, of strategic exits. People, larger companies who are trying to broaden their product portfolio often buy from these kinds of experiments. So that is a very different ball game than the ones who are going to go from $0 to $100 million in 5 to 7 years. And you have to figure out what kind of investors you need to be able to close a deal. Okay, a related question is, which is better for seed funding, angels or VCs? In the 90s and in the 2000s, angels did seed rounds, VCs did Series A and beyond. There were some VCs who would do a little bit of Series A, a little bit of seed, but mostly it was the territory of angels. This dynamic has completely changed in the 2010 decade. Now there are over 1,000 micro VCs out there who specifically focus on seed investment. This is the category that you should pursue if you're looking for seed capital first and foremost. And by the way, the reason this has happened is those angel investors who gained experience as angels in the 2000 decade, let's say, and had a bit of success with their investments, came out and raised small funds in the 2010 decade. So there are a lot of experienced entrepreneurs and angel investors who now no longer operate as single people, single investors. They operate as these small funds, small micro VC funds. It still could be an angel who is now operating as a solo general partner or one of two partners in small funds. And these small funds could be $10 million, $15 million, $25 million funds. But this is your best bet in terms of seeking seed investment. This is the largest category and the most active category of seed investors out there at the moment. And again, I strongly suggest you read the 1M Seed Capital series of interviews. Go to the website, 1mby1m.com, go to our blog, and then on the left navigation panel, you'll find Seed Capital. That's a great series to look at. An example is the interview 1M Virtual Accelerator Investor Forum with Gaurav Jain of F4 Capital. This is a pre-seed investor, and I think you would learn a lot by studying some of these investors and their perspectives. The next question, also funding related, do I need a team for seed funding? The short answer is yes, you do, but you don't necessarily need a full executive team for seed funding. However, solo entrepreneurs typically have difficulty in raising seed funding. Investors prefer at least one co-founder. This is a slightly complex issue because if you're a solo founder bootstrapping, you should put all your energy into trying to get to product market fit and getting to paying customers, not on trying to artificially fill a co-founder position. If you have a natural co-founder, great. If it's somebody you worked with before, you came up with this idea before, you've been noodling this and drawing doodles on napkins with this co-founder, that's a natural co-founder. But if you are a solo founder and you're building a product and you're basically trying to fill a co-founder slot just because you want to seek investment, that is a bit of an artificial co-founder situation, in which case my suggestion would be, can you mitigate the issue by getting your startup to traction while you have paying customers, and a clear path to high velocity customer acquisition as a solo founder? If those metrics are in place, you can raise money without a co-founder. And that's a very common scenario. I'll give you a few pointers to solo founder case studies. You can look at, again, you need to go to the blog. You go to 1mby1m.com, you go to the blog, and you go to entrepreneur journeys. That's where you'll find these interviews. There's a search box on top. You can just plug in the name of the company. But let me give you the title of the case studies, the 3 case studies, solo founder case studies that are very interesting, actually. Solo founder bootstrapping to 7 million in India, Wingify CEO Paras Chopra. You could look at that. From solo founder to $65 million in revenue, Brazilian entrepreneur Daniel Scandian, CEO of Madeira. Doing $5 million a year with 3 employees, Fine Art America CEO Sean Broy here. All 3 are case studies that I did when these companies were at a certain stage. They've all grown from there, and some of them have raised significant amounts of funding. So just because you start as a solo founder doesn't mean that your journey is going to be a solo founder journey. You're going to recruit people, you're going to raise funding if you want, and so on and so forth. So everybody starts alone, somehow this gets lost maybe in translation. All entrepreneurs start alone, and that's just the reality. So here you are. I'm going to switch gears a little bit in answering a bit of different kind of questions. So these are related to trends. Which new AI technologies hold promise for new innovative startups? Well, my analysis is that the core AI algorithms are largely in place at this point. What is missing, and where there are tremendous number of opportunities to build new businesses, is to apply these algorithms to specific industry niches and workflows. This, by the way, is domain knowledge intensive affair. For example, if you want to apply AI to wealth management, you need deep domain knowledge of that industry. And then you need enough AI knowledge to automate portions of the workflow to gain leverage. Same thing, for instance, in radiology analysis. You need the domain knowledge, and then you can program the AI on top of some existing platforms, perhaps. I'm less bullish on horizontal AI right now. It's the industry-specific automation that will be really exciting to watch unfold, with one caveat. If you are already some distance along in doing a horizontal AI platform, and I am in touch with several companies, several entrepreneurs who are building wonderful horizontal AI companies. They have platforms that do specific horizontal AI, platforms, and they're going to build great companies because there's going to be a large amount of, additional building of vertical AI on top of those horizontal AI platforms if they do their marketing right. I'm especially bullish about those horizontal AI platforms that are going to operate as platform as a service and create a really thriving ecosystem, marketplace, etc., on top of their horizontal AI platforms. And the entrepreneurs who attack vertical AI need to look for those platforms that they can build on. And it's going to be, AI is going to be massive. In this coming decade, 2020 to 2030 decade, AI is going to be everywhere. Every single workflow, every single industry domain is going to find a tremendous AI infusion and huge amounts of automation due to AI. So the opportunities are enormous. When I look at AI, I feel like we could do 1 million by 1 million just with AI. I think there's going to be that many companies in AI. So I'm incredibly bullish about the category, and I think it's going to be a very exciting decade for AI startups. Another area that is already very exciting and is going to continue to be very exciting is e-commerce. So what are some ideas to start new e-commerce ventures? Let's look at that next. E-commerce is an extremely crowded space. However, there are always niche e-commerce opportunities. Plus, there are some key trends that you should pay attention to. Vertical marketplaces is a key trend. Industry-specific marketplaces, by that I mean. SaaS-powered vertical marketplaces is a further nuanced variation on that trend. Personalization is one of the most important trends in the segment. Experiential shopping online is a variation of that trend where you can really push the envelope. When you talk about visual merchandising, which is, traditionally visual merchandising was done through catalogs. People used to send catalogs with beautiful photos, and then people would do home shopping off catalogs. That phenomenon evolved into online shopping and e-commerce. But products that are particularly visually oriented, visual merchandising oriented, are going to go through incredible levels of experiential shopping using augmented reality, virtual reality, all kinds of things that are available there from a technology point of view have not been fully integrated into the shopping experience yet. So if you're looking at fashion shopping or home furnishing or luxury, many other luxury products, these are visual merchandising oriented products. And the shopping in those categories are going to be, very enhanced in the upcoming years through experiential shopping technologies. So one more pointer again, back to the blog. If you go to 1mby1m.com, go to the blog and go to the left navigation panel, you will find e-commerce. And this is a window into the thought leaders in e-commerce series on our blog. And there are interview after interview of thought leaders in electronic commerce who give you pointers to what they're doing in the sector, as well as what are the open problems in the sector where you can start new companies, what are the trends. This will help you as well. A good example is I interviewed Upler CEO Grégoire Chauvin, and he discussed the B2B marketplace trend in great depth. I mean, B2B marketplaces is ballooning right now. Everything from steel industry marketplaces to catering marketplaces to, everything, artisan marketplaces. The B2B marketplaces are everywhere right now. If you have expertise in a particular vertical, this may be a good place to look for ideas. On our April 23rd, 2020 roundtable, we had as our guest Garrett Goldberg, who is an investor, is a partner and B partners at VC. It's a micro VC fund. Garrett discussed his firm's enterprise-focused investment thesis, including some unique insights on SaaS-powered vertical marketplaces. You can listen to the detailed discussion. Look for Roundtable Recap, April 23rd, a discussion on vertical marketplaces. So those are some pointers to go look and study and look for ideas. It's, we are in 21st century America. 21st century technology industry, not just America, globally. Right now, everything is global. You can build startups from anywhere in the world. But we are in 2020. And so much has happened in the last 25 years, starting, let's say, 94, 95 timeframe when the commercial internet really kicked in high gear. 25 years worth of experimentation, 25 years worth of startup building has happened. So you are not coming into a greenfield situation. You're coming into a crowded marketplace, but in parallel, technology is changing constantly. Major discontinuities have been happening. In 2004, the social media trend really took off. Around that time, actually, I would say 2007, 2008 timeframe, the cloud computing trend really took off. In 2007, Apple introduced the iPhone, which is the beginning of the smartphone trend, which has been a massive driver of innovation. AI started taking off in the 2012, 13, 14 timeframe and really kicked in gear in the latter half of the 2010 decade, and now is in very high gear. E-commerce has been going on since 1995, but in COVID, e-commerce has absolutely burst. The adoption, the move from physical retail to e-commerce has just exploded. Online learning is a gigantic trend right now. COVID has accelerated the online learning trend as well. Work from home, remote work, these are, huge trends in the technology industry that are also driving innovation. So, this is a very exciting time. At the same time, that it is a very, very depressing time in that it's people are suffering. Huge numbers of people are suffering. Last week, I did an interview with a Fintech company that's working in the real estate sector. And he drew my attention to the massive number of evictions that are coming in the rental sector of the real estate market because people cannot pay their rents. Tens of millions of people are going to be evicted from their homes for this reason. And it's absolutely heartbreaking to see what's happening. So these are very difficult times. These are very sobering, sad times. But it's also, from a technology point of view, technology industry point of view, technology adoption point of view, these are exciting times. So let me take the next question, which is another trend question. Which software may become very popular in 2020? What are the this is a trend question essentially. What will be the trending software technology of, the next phase? So whether it's 2021 and beyond, let's say 2021 to, let's just look at the decade. One trend I'm super excited about is the platform as a service trend. There are a lot of SaaS companies out there that have reached critical mass, 50 million ARR, 100 million ARR, 200 million ARR. There are lots of companies going public right now. And many of these companies, I believe, are going to evolve into platform as a service. So they're going to open up their platforms and their ecosystems to developers. And I believe numerous smaller companies can build on top of those platforms, access those marketplaces, and really become robust companies. So Salesforce.com did that with Force.com, has become very successful. Shopify is doing a nice job of this. Atlassian is doing a decent job of it. They need to mature somewhat further, but Shopify is really doing a great job. So that's one trend I'm very excited about. I'll give you another 10 top trends. Just a summary, I've talked about some of these already. AI in everything is clearly a dominant trend. Personalized medicine is going to be very interesting, I think. AI doctor. Today, diagnosis is done by human doctors, but AI doctor is a very promising idea where AI can process enormous amount of data, research data, test data, medical trends data, medical knowledge data, and come up with personalized diagnosis that is really interesting. So there's personalized medicine, and then there's personalized diagnosis powered by AI. That's the AI doctor trend, which I think will be huge. AI-driven drug discovery is going to be very interesting. Today drug discovery is an interesting process, and we're seeing already huge acceleration in COVID drugs and COVID vaccines. AI has played a role already in this process, but I think generically AI is going to play a role in drug discovery in every domain. And that's going to accelerate things tremendously, open up tremendously. Fintech. Fintech is huge. Ubiquitous fintech is going to be a big trend of the next decade. Fintech broadens credit and makes payments fluid by making both credit and payment digital. This is going to be a massive, massive movement. Clean energy en masse. This is not necessarily IT, but clean energy en masse is a big trend. Online education en masse. This is IT. This is a huge trend, and it's going to be massive. 5G is coming. 5G-driven, fast and ubiquitous broadband internet is going to be huge. As I said earlier, work from home and remote work driven by video and virtual reality is huge, and that is going to drive huge innovation. And one of the things I'm very excited about along the lines of the work from home and remote work trend is I think entrepreneurship is going to spread far and wide into the smaller cities, smaller towns, smaller villages all around the world. They're going to be technology-enabled entrepreneurship. People who felt isolated at one time and couldn't really participate in the global entrepreneurship, in the globalization of entrepreneurship, are now going to be able to do that very easily. And that's going to be incredibly interesting. Another one that I'm really keen on is humanity is going through a loneliness epidemic. And COVID has exposed the degree of suffering due to loneliness in this period. So I'm really bullish about next generation social networks that address humanity's loneliness epidemic. That I think could be something phenomenally important and powerful in impacting the ongoing evolution of humanity. So we are going to stop there in terms of other questions. I'll take a last question, which is always my last question, and that is, how can you get feedback from me on your particular startup? And that question I answer every time in the beginning and end of the show, because we get that question all the time. You can come to any of our weekly mentoring roundtables. Go to 1mby1m.com, go to free public roundtables. You'll find the schedule there. You'll find registration links. You can register to pitch or attend. The process and the details are there. People who take the self-assessment and spend some time preparing for these pitches do better than who don't. If you're trying to do the self-assessment and you're getting stuck, you can always subscribe to the 1M by 1M curriculum by joining 1M by 1M Basic. That's just $99 a month. And if you decide that you really want ongoing weekly mentoring from our program and all the other pieces, investor introductions and so on, just go to 1M by 1M Premium, and I'll be happy to work with you on a weekly basis and open my Rolodex to you. Thank you for coming today. It was a pleasure being with you. This is Sramana Mitra signing off from Silicon Valley, California. Good luck. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves, your friends, and your families. Keep them safe from COVID. Bye.